The room goes quiet. The insult hangs in the air, heavy and sharp. It was designed to cut you, to humiliate you, or perhaps simply to provoke a reaction that confirms the aggressor's power over your emotional state. In that split second, your biology screams, your heart rate spikes, your cortisol floods, and your mind begins drafting a rebuttal, a sharp comeback, a defense, a shout that will level the playing field. You want to prove them wrong. You want to hurt them back. You want to win. But the great irony of human conflict is that the moment you speak, the moment you participate in the chaos they have orchestrated, you have already lost. We are taught that strength is loud. We are conditioned to believe that defending our honor requires noise, argumentation, and the last word. But there is a deeper, older, and far more terrifying form of power that very few people master. It is the power of the void. It is the ability to look at disrespect and offer absolutely nothing in return. This is not the passive silence of the weak or the frightened. It is the heavy, suffocating silence of the Stoic. It is the realization of what Epictetus, the crippled slave turned philosopher, meant when he said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." But we must take this further. It is not just about reacting well. It is about choosing not to react at all. It is about becoming a ghost in the machine of their manipulation, removing your energy so completely that the disrespect has nowhere to land, forcing it to boomerang back and strike the person who threw it. To understand why this works, you have to understand the economy of disrespect. When someone insults you, undermines you, or crosses a boundary, they are engaging in a transaction. They are investing their aggression with the expectation of a return. That return is your emotion. They need your anger to validate their importance. They need your defense to validate their accusation. They need your sadness to validate their power. They are begging to be seen, even if it is through the lens of conflict. When you deny them that return on investment, you do not just annoy them, you bankrupt the interaction. Most people are terrified of silence because silence is a mirror. When you argue with a toxic person, you become their noise. You give them a distraction. They don't have to look at their own behavior because they are too busy looking at your reaction. Your shouting matches, your tears, and your long paragraphs of text explaining why they are wrong, these are all gifts. They are distinct, tangible things the aggressor can latch onto to avoid facing themselves. But when you withdraw, when you simply stop, you remove the distraction, you remove the noise, and suddenly, in that deafening quiet, they are left alone in a room with nothing but the echo of their own cruelty. This is the psychological weight of the Stoic withdrawal. It is not an act of submission, it is an act of exposure. By refusing to engage, you force the disrespect to hang in the air unclaimed and unanswered until it becomes awkward and embarrassing and finally haunting for the person who spoke it. This process begins with the radical removal of access. We often think of access as physical proximity, but in the modern age, access is largely energetic and emotional. You might still be in the same room or the same relationship, but you can revoke your presence entirely. This is the shift from being a participant to being an observer. Epictetus taught that we suffer because we confuse what is up to us with what is not up to us. The words of another person are not up to you. Their opinion of you is not up to you. But your judgment of those words, the mental access you grant them to your soul, is entirely yours. When you realize that your energy is not a public utility, you stop dispensing it to people who cannot pay the bill of respect.
Imagine the confusion of an aggressor who is used to a specific pattern. They push a button and you react. It is a simple cause and effect loop. They make a snide comment about your work and you defend your competence. They make a joke at your expense and you get angry. This predictability is their comfort zone. But one day, they push the button and the machine doesn't turn on. You don't frown, you don't sigh, you don't look away in hurt, nor do you glare in anger. You simply look at them with a neutral, unreadable gaze, and then you continue with your existence as if they had never spoken. This is the deliberate shattering of the pattern. You are not giving them the silent treatment, which is often just a manipulative form of sulking. You are giving them nothing. You are demonstrating that their input is no longer compatible with your software. You are withdrawing your emotional labor. You are no longer doing the work of managing their ego, correcting their narrative, or participating in their drama. You have fired yourself from the job of being their victim. This creates a vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the human ego. When you create this void, the other person will instinctively try to fill it. They will get louder. They will become more dramatic. They will accuse you of being cold, arrogant, or uncaring. They will try to bait you back into the ring. And this is the crucible. This is where the Stoic is made. The temptation to explain yourself will be overwhelming. You will want to say, "I'm not being arrogant, I'm just protecting my peace." But you must not, because to explain is to return to the game. To explain is to plead for understanding from a person committed to misunderstanding you. True power lies in the ability to let people be wrong about you. Let them call you cold. Let them call you distant. Let them paint whatever narrative soothes their conscience. You know the truth, and as Epictetus reminds us, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In this context, be content to be thought stuck up or indifferent. The narrative they create is their coping mechanism for your absence. As you sustain this silence, something transformative happens in the dark. While they are spinning in the chaos of your withdrawal, trying to figure out why their old tricks aren't working, you are undergoing a private evolution. This is the hidden engine of the silent response, the level up that happens behind closed doors. Disrespect is often a signal that we have outstayed our welcome in a certain vibration of life. It is a sign that we are vibrating at a level that tolerates things we should not. When you choose silence, you are effectively taking all the energy you used to waste on arguments and reinvesting it into your own stock. This is the most dangerous form of revenge, though revenge is not the intent. The intent is sovereignty. But to the outsider, it looks devastating. They expect you to crumble. They expect you to vent to friends, to post sad quotes on social media, to look disheveled and distressed. They want to see the debris of their impact. Instead, you disappear into your own growth. You channel that frustration into the gym, into your business, into books, into a new skill, into deep philosophical contemplation. You become harder, smarter, and more self-reliant. You build a fortress of competence and well-being that has no gate for them. Months later, when you re-emerge, or simply when they catch a glimpse of you, you are unrecognizable. You carry yourself differently. Your posture has changed because you are no longer carrying the weight of their opinion. You speak with a new cadence, slower and more assured, because you are no longer rushing to be understood. You have become undeniable. This is the level up that happens in the shadows. It is terrifying to the person who disrespected you because it confirms their worst fear, that they were never the anchor of your life, only the dead weight. And now that you've cut the chain, you are soaring.
However, this journey requires a profound shift in emotional availability. It is one thing to be physically silent. It is another to be emotionally impermeable. This is the concept of the gray rock, becoming as uninteresting and unreactive as a stone. But Stoicism takes it deeper than a behavioral tactic. It makes it a spiritual stance. You must reach a point where their chaos does not just fail to move you, it fails to reach you. You view their disrespect not as a personal attack, but as a natural phenomenon, like bad weather. When it rains, you don't scream at the sky, you put up an umbrella and keep walking. You don't take the rain personally. Similarly, when a person is rude, chaotic, or manipulative, you must view it as their weather. It is a report on the state of their internal climate, not a judgment on your worth. This emotional unavailability is the ultimate boundary. We often think of boundaries as lines we draw in the sand, things we have to announce and defend. If you speak to me like that, I will leave. That is a verbal boundary. But a silent boundary is a psychological force field. It is the unspoken decision that certain behaviors simply do not grant access to your interiority. When you master this, you stop taking the bait. They throw the hook and it sinks into the water, but there is no fish there to bite. You watch the hook drift by. You might even feel a pang of pity for the fisherman who is so desperate for a catch. This shift from anger to pity is the hallmark of true detachment. You are no longer fighting them, you are witnessing them. And in your witnessing, in your calm, unbothered observation, you diminish them. You reduce them from a powerful adversary to a behaving child. There is a specific kind of agony that the disrespectful feel when they realize they are no longer affecting you. It is the agony of irrelevance. Love and hate are two sides of the same coin. They both require passion. Indifference is the only true opposite of love. By becoming emotionally unavailable, you are telling them that they do not matter enough to make you angry. They do not matter enough to make you sad. They simply do not matter. That realization, delivered without a single word, cuts deeper than any insult you could ever concoct. Finally, there comes the inevitable conclusion to this trajectory, the departure. Sometimes silence is not just a pause in the conversation, it is the end of the relationship. But how you leave matters. The ego wants a grand finale. It wants the mic drop. It wants to list every crime, every hurt, every reason why you are walking out the door. It wants to make sure they know what they lost. But the Stoic knows that if you have to explain why you are leaving, you haven't really left yet. You are still trying to be heard. You are still seeking validation for your pain. The most piercing exit is the one that comes without warning and without fanfare. It is the Irish goodbye of the soul. You simply cease to be there. You stop texting. You stop showing up. You stop engaging. You remove your presence from their life as if you were never there. This is the ghosting that is rooted in dignity rather than cowardice. Cowardice ghosts to avoid conflict. Dignity ghosts to preserve the self. When you disappear with dignity, you deny them the closure they crave. Human beings are obsessed with closure. We want stories to have endings. We want the final shout, the slamming door, the tearful goodbye. These things allow us to categorize the event and put it away. But when you simply vanish, when you withdraw your consent to be in their play without handing in a resignation letter, you leave the story open-ended. They are left holding the book, waiting for the next chapter, only to realize the pages are blank. They are forced to replay the last interactions, scanning for clues, overanalyzing their own behavior. What did I do? When did they decide? Was it that thing I said? You haunt them not because you are trying to, but because your absence is a riddle they cannot solve. By denying them the fight, you deny them the relief of casting you as the villain. If you scream and break things as you leave, they can say, "Wow, they were crazy, I'm better off." But if you leave with the silent grace of a king or queen, abdicating a throne that has become unworthy of them, they are left with only one conclusion: I wasn't enough to make them stay, and I wasn't important enough to be told why.
This is the ultimate reclamation of power. It is not about punishing them, it is about honoring the finite nature of your own life. Epictetus reminds us that we are dying every day. Each moment that passes is a moment we never get back. To spend those precious dying moments arguing with someone committed to misunderstanding you is a sin against your own existence. So, the next time the disrespect comes, and it will come, remember that you are standing at a fork in the road. One path is loud, cluttered, and exhausted. It is the path of reaction, of ego, of trying to force someone to see you. The other path is quiet. It is the path of the void. Choose the void. Step back. Withdraw your energy. Let their words fall onto the floor and rot there. Build your life in the shadows where they cannot see. And when the time comes, if you must, simply turn and walk away, leaving nothing behind but the deafening sound of your own absence. In that silence, you will find not just victory, but freedom. And freedom, as the Stoics knew, is the only thing worth fighting for.